Hey there, it's Melanie Benson here, and today we have to talk about the magical outcomes that are possible when you start thinking bigger. So, I've been meeting with a lot of potential mastermind members, people applying for Amplify Mastermind, and people who wanted to explore Get Magnetic Messaging. And I started to notice a trend. There are people that were taking big leaps, and there were people who were really only comfortable taking really small incremental steps. There were some people who were taking big risks and they were willing to stretch outside their comfort zone. And then there were people who were really like only okay with like the safety zone. And if they couldn't see how everything was going to work, they weren't willing to take action. I started noticing that there are people who are taking the lead in their business, and they're willing to really step up and step out and like take the action first to organize events and to get these ongoing visibility strategies. I teach like literally like take the lead and organize people and do what I call create collaboration currency. And then there were people who were just kind of hanging back, waiting to be asked and frustrated because they weren't getting the traction they wanted. And I also noticed there were people who could really only focus on today instead of tapping into a bigger vision, something that they have absolutely zero idea how to pull off, but it's a vision and an idea that was really driving their choices, driving their behaviors, driving their decisions. And it was okay to be uncomfortable with it because that vision was magic for them. Like there was something that was so powerful and so compelling in it. I'm curious, which one do you think you are? Are you the person who is thinking bigger, playing bigger, and operating outside your comfort zone? Or are you the person who's really still playing it safe, doing only what feels comfortable, and really holds yourself back because you're afraid to stretch yourself? There's nothing wrong with that unless it's keeping you from achieving your goals and to really have the impact that you want. And I know some people just are wired where taking small, safe steps is the only thing that's comfortable. But I've really been noticing that thinking bigger, even if you are taking smaller steps, and I want to make this really clear, like thinking bigger, even if you're taking smaller steps, changes something in you. It changes your frequency. It changes your energetic field. It transforms you. And when you do that, it's almost like your DNA starts to recalibrate and you become someone that plays a bigger game, and it's more magnetic. It's easier to amplify, and it has this power and this courageous energy that's so attractive and compelling and irresistible to others. Thinking bigger activates resourcefulness. It activates this quality in you that is interesting and intriguing to others. And it's almost like it doesn't really even matter what the thinking bigger and the playing bigger is. It's who you're being that becomes very exciting. And it's almost like people don't even have to know what you're up to. They just feel this energy in you. And so I was talking with someone who was getting to know me, and I've hired her to help me get some things to the next level in my business. And she was asking me some questions about where I started and how I got, my name out there and what was working back then. And it was really interesting because one of the things she said to me is she's like, wow, like you have this like compelling energy that once you kind of got your message clear, just like everything opened up. And I thought, yeah, it's like, and I've always been willing to play bigger. I've always been willing to stretch outside my comfort zone, do things that absolutely terrify me, but surround myself with people who can help me pull it off. Now, I know this is not for everyone. And so what I want to do today in today's Amplify tip is to stretch you to a place that you maybe have been afraid of, or maybe have felt is not you, but that will actually help you become the person that can live the dream, that can actually pull off the business, can have the impact, that can have the, attract the income, that can be wealthy, that can be prosperous, that can be magnetic, right? Whatever that thing is. And I will tell you that if you don't already have it, then you got to stretch. You're going to have to start shifting how you go about doing things so that you get where you want to go and you have the impact that you were put on this planet to have. And I know most of the people in this group, they really do want to have a greater impact. I know most of the people that follow the Amplify process, they really do want to have that balance of creating more sustainable income, and they truly do want to transform the lives of other people. So let's talk about some of the things that might be getting in the way. And if I touch one that is up for you, please know that none of this is permanent. It's the awareness of what this brings for you and what could be different that is important to recognize today. So one thing that I notice happens, and people might be thinking like, playing bigger, that's just so not me. Like I'm exhausted already. I have all this stuff on my plate. Like I can't even get to what I have, right? There's a lot of things that come up for people with this idea of thinking bigger. Please know this is a state of mind. It is a way of looking at things so that you stop allowing what is to dictate what's possible. Let me say that again. You allow you become the person who stops letting what is, your current circumstances, your current resources, your money, your time, whatever that is. You stop letting current circumstances, what is, dictate what's possible. They're not the same thing. Otherwise, I never would have created any kind of success because I did not have what I needed to become a multiple 6 and then 7-figure business owner. Like it was not in me. I had to create it, and you can too. So here's some things that your mind might be doing that cause you to pull back from thinking bigger. And like we start to play this logic game that messes with our head around it a little bit. So, and I went through a period where this was really hard for me. I just want to own that and let you know, like you can kind of pop yourself out of it. And the first one is you're unwilling to fail. This usually comes from a place where you feel like you have a scarcity of resources. And the conversation goes something like this, like, I don't have the time or I don't have the money for this to not work. Here's what I know. Thinking bigger, playing bigger requires us to take risks. And sometimes it's not going to work. And when you come to it from this place of, I have to get it right, or it has to be perfect for me to be okay, or it can't fail, what you're doing is you're operating out of fear avoidance. And fear avoidance keeps you from doing things that might not feel good. And success is going to have components that don't feel good. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to have challenges. You're going to get stretched. And it doesn't always feel good in the process, but what I can tell you is who you become. And what happens on the other side of that is magical. Like I'm watching this right now unfold for one of the Amplify Mastermind members. I've stretched her for years. She's been working with me. I think it's like 5 years now. And who she was when she started is not who she is today. But what she's about ready to do, like she's taking a huge leap. And I got to acknowledge her. I'm going to actually acknowledge her here on the official day. What the leap was that she took, she could not have done then. She had to become, I had to keep stretching her. She had to keep stretching her to become the person who could pull it off. And you got to be unwilling to fail. You have to be unwilling for some things, not everything, but some things to not work to get what will. And that's meaning you have the resourcefulness to go, okay, that didn't work. You pick yourself up and you keep going. So when it's a catastrophic, you create this energy of avoiding that kind of catastrophic pain that you can't get past it. And so you want to shift your mindset to, I'm willing to try things until it to get to a place that I'm supposed to be. I'm willing to try things that may or may not work to get to greater impact in the world. Change the thinking. Okay, so that's the first one. Another one is, and this comes up a lot with people when they first start working with me, is you do start to think big. You get a big vision and it gets really exciting and then it gets terrifying because you fall into this fear trap thinking about how and what you're going to do. And then that fear gets so strong that you come up with literally a million reasons why you can't do this anymore. And that shuts off the fuel source, the fire source of that great vision. And I guarantee you, you will pull yourself out of it. Like I watched it happen to someone last year, and people have to go through what they have to go through. And I've been through that. Like I had to go through some of that myself in the past. But when you are thinking bigger and then you let fear take over, it's literally like you hand the steering wheel to like the devil, so to speak, as you're trying to climb a mountain. You're like, wait, I just gave the steering wheel to the part of me that is not resourceful, that is not seeing my best, and is literally going to talk me out of it. So don't let your fear take over the decision making, because it will try to. Like that's our comfort zone. And that's when we start hitting those upper limits. And you might want to check out that podcast episode I did last year on upper limits. I'll hook it up in the comments below to make sure you know how to go back and listen to that. Another thing that I think is happening a lot more and more is people focus on all the reasons why something can't or won't work, instead of maybe the one way it could. And Steve Jobs was really famous for a quote about, find the one reason to do something instead of the million reasons to not do it. Or maybe it was Howard Schultz of Starbucks. I can't remember, but one of those two people had a famous quote about that. And, when you are focusing on all the reasons why things won't work, guess what's happening to your energy? It shrinks. Okay. It starts to feel oppressive. You feel overwhelmed. You start to be less resourceful. When you stay focused on what might work and you encounter things that you're like, okay, I don't know, you either let it go or you say, okay, next, what will work? We do this all the time on my team. It's like, okay, that's not going to work. So what will? That's not the path that feels aligned. So what is? This isn't the approach that I feel I can sustain. So what will be? Replace the part of you that is consumed by limits and find the part of you that can lock into the decision and the commitment and the knowing that you are born to do this, that this is part of your growth. This is who you're meant to become. Into the magic of thinking bigger. I found that over the years, one thing that really makes a huge difference is who I'm surrounded with. I can be in fear. I can fall into limitation, and I check and balance that part of me. I'm in masterminds with people that don't let me play small. I work with a coach that keeps me from playing small. I have friends who, if I'm feeling kind of like I want to give up that day, I call them and I get pulled back into the greatest vision of me. They challenge me to be the best version of me. And we all need that in our lives. Some people are forever internally motivated, but most of us, we need a container that is amplifying the best parts of us and helping us work through those parts of us that do get sticky. I think that's where coaching comes in. And if you're in the right mastermind, that would do it. But recognize, if you find that this is even a conversation that you can't even entertain, I want you to take a look at who you spend the most time with. Are you spending time with people who this is a natural part of who they are? Or are they the complainers and the excuse makers and the people who have so much fear that the idea of even being an entrepreneur is outside the realm of possibility? Okay, so really look at who are you surrounding yourself with? What conversations you're having? They will influence who you become. Okay, and then last, I mentioned this a second ago, but I want you to start looking at the excuses and the stories that are running through your life right now. When I'm working with people and they're saying they're ready for that next step, but they don't do the action, they don't follow through. Usually there's an excuse like, I'm so busy, I can't make time, or they might say I don't really feel capable of that, or I don't have enough money to implement it, or I've even heard I'm too old, I feel like I'm at the edge of what's possible for me, or I'm scared, I don't really know what's right for me. All of these rationales are simply excuses that are designed to hold you to the comfort zone. Look, our ego mind doesn't want us to grow. It doesn't want things to change. It likes things being comfortable. I went through an enormous amount of change last year and it was super uncomfortable, but I tripled it down on what do I need to have in my life to pull that part of me forward that knows there's more, that knows there's like a next level that I'm supposed to be leaning towards. And I say supposed to because I feel it in my body. Like I feel called to it. And we all have something that's calling to us. But oftentimes excuses are louder than the voice that's calling us to step up the game. And for some people, those excuses are just the reality, and you have to honor that right now. There might be too many things pulling at you, and that's okay. But when you know it's time, like you know it's time to step up and into that next level, you got to check the excuses at the door. And you got to get recommitted to what that big vision is. Like think bigger, think more resourceful, think outside your box, stretch yourself, surround yourself with people that this is a normal conversation. I love the book, The Magic of Thinking Big. I buy it for all my mastermind clients because I find that the way we think is having a huge impact all the time on the energy and the frequency we're operating in. And that energy's either like expanding us or contracting us. Okay. We're either looking at what's possible and that's making us feel more capable, or we're looking at what is impossible and feeling incapable. And I've noticed that like this whole how we think is so huge, like little goals, like small goals that you know you can nail are valuable, but they're only going to bring you little achievements. It's the big goals, the goals that stretch you, that transform you into the next most amazing version of yourself, that unlock your unlimited potential and move you out of the person that you always thought you were to the person that you were born to be. Say everything that you believe is shaping your reality. And so if you believe you can only pull off little goals, you'll always get little wins. But at a certain point, that's going to keep you locked into this very slow growth mode that gets frustrating for people over time. And I'll close out with something that I just found so invaluable for me over the years. And it was a quote that your attitude determines your altitude. The way you are thinking, the way your energy is determining how high you can go, how much you can grow, how much impact you can have. And if you really want to change the game you're playing, you got to start thinking bigger, and you got to open up the attitude to what's possible instead of like what feels impossible and limits you. And it all comes down to one thing: choice. Make a choice. Choose the next thing. Choose the bigger experience. Choose, like, I am going to tap into a bigger vision. I am going to like become the best version of me. I'm going to make the greatest impact I can. And then find the path that gets you there. It's all energy. And that energy is always responding to what's happening right here between your two ears, circling around. Those synapses, those neurons firing are either firing off towards what you want, or they're keeping you grounded in what you don't want because it's looping through a familiar path. Okay. So I'd love to hear, is there a goal that's calling you? Do you know it's time for you to play bigger? Did this video provoke maybe and stir up some feelings about growth and getting to the next level? Let's talk about what's really up for you. Tell me what's on your mind. I'll look for your comments, and I'd love to hear what comes up for you as you decide to really like reach that next level. All right, we'll be back next week with another Amplify Live. We'll see you then.